Saturday, and let me tell you, it is freaking hot.
It's a great morning. It's great to be back on the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Excited to kick off another great week with you guys as we close in on the end of July already. It's moving way too fast.
So, interesting. Yesterday, we're driving to breakfast, actually driving after breakfast, which we had on the beach, figuring we're sitting in our normal spot. It wouldn't be too hot. It was friggin' hot. We're on the way back, and Helen is saying, wow, it's really, really hot. And I go, we always say that. Every summer, you always say, wow, I don't remember it being this hot. Shay, show me how hot it was yesterday. It's like, okay.
No, it is. It is ridiculously hot outside, and it doesn't seem like it's cooling down or moving any sooner. So it's like
we still got a couple of days of this. So much stuff to talk about. Phenomenal Saturday morning breakfast with the fam. That was pretty amazing.
It was a great little send off for Kai. We got to spend his last day together, and it was a great day. We woke up, we went to breakfast with you guys, which was fantastic. Then we went and had a play date at Bayview Elementary's park with his friend Jacob, which was super cool. Got to meet his friend from camp and his dad. And again, we were out there for 20 minutes and you're just dripping in sweat. There's no way to get away from it. And then, got to finish off the day with him. Got to have a great dinner. We actually ordered Del Frisco's on Uber Eats.
Really?
And it was fantastic. We got a steak. They got chicken, macaroni and cheese. It was awesome. They loved it, and he loved it, and it was great. So it's a good little send off on Saturday night. Woke up, took him to the airport yesterday, and then just a good family weekend. Did some grocery shopping yesterday. Jules is unbelievable. Jules goes into the grocery store. Doesn't matter what fruit it is, he's trying to eat it. He's eating the orange whole. He's eating a plum. He's eating a peach. If he could get his hands on it, the skin's not coming off of it, and he's trying to eat it.
I love it. Going to go back to Friday morning. Huddle in the hot seat. Kim Sarney was just an absolute home run. She did a great job. And then I'm going to show you what class looks like. Class looks like that with a note that says, oh, there it is. Look at that. Really fucking fun. This plant is called blooming, and that's what you guys do. South Florida wouldn't be the same without you. So incredible.
Great touch. Great follow-up touch. Thank you, Kim. And then immediately an invite from her. Right after that, an invite to an event at the end of August.
Here we go. You make it real. So shout out to Kim Sarney. Shout out to our segment, The Huddle in the Hot Seat, because there's so many nuggets that I had fun going back and watching it again. Then Friday night, you have this guy that's now in Miami playing soccer. Like the world is turned upside down about this guy. And he gets here and
storybook.
Cinderella story.
Here it is. Messi! Put it in any other way! Magnificent!
I mean, if this doesn't save the MLS and doesn't save Inter Miami, I don't know what will. Because, you just can't write it any better. The guy didn't come into the game until later in the game. You had to wait the whole game to see him actually come on the field. And then he actually gets the opportunity to end the game with a game-winning goal and does it. So, there's a ton you could unpack about that, right? Number one, if you're that guy, if you are that person, you don't have to be the guy. If you are that person, when those moments show up, you show up. And sure enough,
they were made for it. And just insane. I am not a huge soccer guy, but that was a moment and then watching it, what a laser shot. Just like top corner, bang,
25 yards, basically dead center. It's almost like a penalty kick for him. And obviously you got the people in the way and they're setting up the defense to try to keep him from scoring. But he bends it. He puts it right in the corner, only the way the best can. And it's a storybook, start to Messi's experience here.
So then you go across the pond and you got Brian Harmon, thank you, Jake, who wins, first time that he wins. And they asked him what was the motivation. He was walking off on Saturday and a fan heckled him and said, "You don't have the stones to win it." Just gotta love it. Gotta love it. So then Saturday night, we had the chance to go see Sebastian Maniscalco. Let me tell you something. 1 hour and 15 minutes of absolute pure joy, pure laughter. The guy was insane, topical, real, fun, physical, emotion. Just great.
The Hard Rock continues to deliver. The great content. Doesn't matter what month it is. I mean, at the end of this month, Gabby and I are going to see Leon Bridges there. So or at the end of August. So I mean, just continuously every month. I saw Wu-Tang is going to be there. Like, wow, you're going to have Wu-Tang clean there with Nas? Like, what is happening? Like, I love it.
Those are three people I have no idea who they are. Leon Bridges.
You have to look up. You would love Leon Bridges. Leon Bridges is blues and soul, and you would love Leon Bridges.
So Bob was there earlier in the week, and I think Pete Corielli. What was funny? He wasn't as funny, but he certainly was funny. A great opening act. So anyway, really, really great stuff. We have an amazing huddle this morning. We're going to talk about etiquette, like follow up with a plant and stuff like that. We're going to talk about lunch etiquette in business. Mark and I had the chance to go down on Friday and went down to the Grove and just had an amazing conversation on the way down, validated at lunch, and then we talked about it on the way home. So we'll share that with you. We got lots of great stuff. We got great motivational music. Stick around, grab your friends, grab some coffee. Let's wake this thing up.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. We got, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in there. No more about to thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
Some Wu-Tang fans in the crowd. I mean, Michelle Pottorf says, see Wu-Tang. Lou Barco says, you mean cream? Get the money. $1 bill, y'all.
Michelle says, you should see Wu-Tang. I ordered that for dinner last night. So it's like, anyway, on a sadder note, but certainly an amazing story. Tony Bennett died at 96 years old. Henry Paisano, talking about Italians, great Italians. So Anthony Benedetto died at 96. He definitely defined an era of amazing music. Shay, show me the news report.
When it was time, they walked toward the stage together. Then the lights went out and the curtain went up.
Well, once he saw the audience, and when he raises his hands, I knew we were all right, because he became himself. He just turned on. It was like a light switch.
So he suffered from dementia, had a hard time recognizing people. They interviewed his kids and stuff. But once you put the guy on stage, he lit up. He knew where he was supposed to be. He was able to sing. So August 3rd, there is a petition to make August 3rd, his birthday, National
Tony Bennett Day?
Yeah. So
love a great excuse to listen to some Tony Bennett, and just a guy who did it so well for so long. And I don't know if you read the Arnold Schwarzenegger newsletter this morning, the Daily Pump. Oh, wait till you read the story in there about the guy who beat cancer for 30 plus years. Unreal. Unreal story. Yeah. And speaks to the mindset of it.
Good. So I think it's appropriate that we listen to some Tony Bennett. This is one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite movies.
I know I'd go from rags to riches if you would only say you care. And though my pocket may be empty, I'd be a millionaire. My clothes may still be torn and tattered, but in my heart I'd be a king. Your love is all that ever mattered. It's everything.
So, I could have played I Left My Heart. There's so many songs you could have played, but
that's a great one. That's an all-timer.
I love what Henry says, a singer's singer from Frank Sinatra. So it doesn't get much better than that.
High regard.
So I'm going to switch gears, talk about our lunch on Friday. So we've been doing some philanthropic work. Boom. With the American Cancer Society. That's how I met Nikki Upshaw. She's fantastic. She's sat in the Huddle seat before our event recently, and we scheduled the lunch in July. Friday was that lunch, and the thing Shay showed me there was. So the questions that arose prior to going down there were like dress code. It's Friday in the Grove. I misread a text from Mark, and he's telling me, yeah, blazer and jeans and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
so I don't know what you misread. We were having a conversation about what we were going to wear for the content shoot. And I said, I'm going to bring my blazer and t-shirt, and I'm going to be wearing shorts underneath it. I'm not wearing jeans. And so you showed up in jeans and a blazer thinking that we were going to wear jeans and a blazer to lunch. And I was like, dude, I don't care if we're going to meet the president. If we're going to the Grove in the middle of the afternoon at 9 when it's 98 degrees outside, I'm not wearing jeans and a blazer to Coconut Grove. So, but it was like, well, then we looked up the restaurant. First of all, if you have not been to Coconut Grove recently, they've done an unbelievable job infusing it with restaurants. We went to a restaurant called Amal, not a mall, but Amal, which was a Lebanese restaurant, which they did the pita and the dips so well. And the food was fantastic. But I thought even better than the food was the conversation that we had with Nikki, and the way it's centered around growth, the way it's centered around leadership, the way it's centered around challenging the status quo and moving forward. All great conversation. But the etiquette of how to set that up was definitely, something that we were talking about the whole way down there.
So we agreed to wear shorts. We were dressed nicely. We didn't wear flip-flops and, wearing, $100 shorts. Both of us were, it was
shorts and a V-neck and leather sneakers was the attire for a Friday afternoon lunch in the Grove.
And we got there first. We got our table. And then the next question came up was, how do you sit with three people? We're sitting at a table of four, two on the bench, two on the chair. And I'm like going, we should probably sit next to each other. So she's sitting across from us and we can have that kind of banter. And he goes, absolutely not. So we were the entire time. I'm like, dude, I'm already freaking out. I'm wearing shorts for business meeting. Like, how about taking me out of my comfort zone? Then you're telling me you're going to sit across from me and she's got to pick who she's going to sit next to. So,
well, so, so you could look at it that it's all about perspective. I think you could look at it as like, well, you're forcing that person to choose a side on where they want to sit. But
or
the other side of it,
the person would normally have to move their head to talk to either one of us.
But the other side of that is if it's two people facing one person, it could be overwhelming or adversarial, or it could feel like you're choosing sides. And
Right.
So if you split your group in half, you allow that person to become a part of your group and inside of it, and it creates a different dynamic that allows the conversation to really flow from every angle.
So it all worked out because like I'm waiting for her to show up in like a business suit and I'm in shorts. I'm gonna like pass out. That didn't happen. Then, we sit down, she comes and sits down and very comfortably sits on the bench and angles herself so that she can comfortably talk to the both of us. It was an incredible lunch. But it brought to mind, like, what is the etiquette? And so I did some homework and I came up with here are some key etiquette tips to keep in mind for a successful business lunch. Never, ever let it be said that we're not about true content here and things that you can take away. So if you are going to business lunches, number one is punctuality. What time
Go
did we
figure.
get there? What time did we get there, dude?
I think we got there like truly 10 minutes early. Maybe
We
a
got
little
there
bit more
straight
than
up
that.
noon because I parked.
But we made good time also, right? Like we had kind of planned it to be there 5 or 10 minutes before. We ended up being, I think, 15 minutes early because we made good time getting down on 95. But yeah, I think you should be no later than 5 minutes early, I think. Because
Correct.
the other side of that is you get to then figure out if you're there first, you get
Correct.
to decide the seating arrangement, which
My
is
home court.
another big part of it.
I made it my home court. So, in order of things that this listed was punctuality, great. Dress appropriately, dress in professional attire that aligns with the business culture. So I like that because that aligned with our culture. We were showing up authentically us, and it worked perfectly because it was a very comfortable lunch.
So I could tell you that I would be a firm believer that if we would have showed up in shorts and a t-shirt and sneakers on a Friday afternoon for a business lunch, and even if she was even if she was overdressed compared to us, if that's going to be the thing that stops somebody from working with us, I'm out. I'm out early. It's already a red flag. So for me, who are we? What's our culture? What are we trying to represent? Let's represent that authentically. Now, if it was a Wednesday in the middle of the week and it was a little different, sure. But a Friday afternoon in the Grove, who are we? What are we trying to say? So, and the other thing you can do is we could have shot Nikki a note and said, hey, what do you feel like the proper attire is? We're happy to come down in jeans and a blazer, but we'd love to do shorts and V-necks if you're okay with that.
Interesting, because I'm having dinner with Eric tonight. We do a thing called buddy time. He became the president of his club. And I was like, shorts? He goes, yes, no flip-flops. All right. Okay,
Right.
So I'm going to go through all of these because they're not in an order. But for me, there was the logical next thing was, so punctuality, dress code, greeting. How do you greet somebody? Are you a hugger? Are you a kisser? Are you a firm handshake? The worst is, the wet fish thing.
The dead fish. You mean?
You got to pick that out.
I don't know what a wet fish is, but I do not ever want to shake
You
a
ever
wet
shake
fish.
someone's hand that's like very wet and they're
Clammy?
like
A clammy hand?
like, dude, what? Go, use some top.
Listen,
will you, man?
People have hyperhidrosis. It's a real
Agree.
thing.
Do something about it, man. Dude, wear a towel, wear gloves. I don't care. So then it's ordering. It says ordering, and we did lead the ordering. Hey, she had been there before, but what are we doing? We ordered something together. It goes all the way down to number 10, where it says alcohol consumption. Please share how we broached that subject. Because Friday at 12:30, you and I were looking for a lunch cocktail. Right.
I was ready, right? And they had the what was it? The guava. What was the name of the drink? Do you remember it was a guava something?
Sway, a guava sway.
It was delicious too. It was a reposado tequila with a little grapefruit and some deliciousness. But the way we introduced that was, hey, are you interested in having a cocktail? And you could see like her antennas went up like, I'm intrigued. And she's like, maybe I'll do a glass of wine. And I'm like, well, we're going to order a tequila. And she was like, oh, really?
I love tequila.
Right. And immediately she was in on it. So I love it.
So it said, mind your manners, conversation, engage in professional conversation during the meal, avoid controversial topics such as politics or religion, and instead focus on business related or neutral subjects.
I call bullshit.
I'm calling bullshit on this because I instantly went to my go-to, which was Tell me your story. We
Which
knew a little bit about her, but we didn't really know.
which led to us talking about her career and business, and it led to that conversation. But I think if you immediately try to jump into business conversation, you send the whole lunch in the direction of a meeting, and nobody's trying to have a meeting, especially at lunch. So if you can start to build some rapport, you could bring the walls down a little bit. Got it. We ordered a drink. That makes it a little bit more casual. We're talking about some personal topics about your story, where you come from. And I would say this, when it comes to conversation, you should be listening and asking questions 10 times more than you're talking, right? Like if you're the one dominating the conversation with your story, it's probably not going to go as well as it could as if you were listening and asking questions and really diving in to get the information that you need.
So, Michael makes a point, it depends on the industry with alcohol. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I've done business with companies that are in the hospitality space and they're drinkers, generally speaking. But I like what Lori said, you got to test the culture. Now, if we were going to a meeting at her office, no shot we're wearing shorts. This was a neutral place. She picked it. We come to find out that Fridays is work from home. So she lives in the Grove. And so it was great that we, she got to walk there. And, so all of those things pointed to, but I always say, and this is a reminder, that if you're doing all the talking, you're losing.
Yeah.
It is, and I say, if you take the word listen and jumble the letters, it spells silent. It's a great reminder. Or wait, why am I talking? Shut the hell up. And it became a very easy flow of conversation back and forth. We did not bring up business.
No, I mean, it just moved there. The conversation of her moving through her career and being actually genuinely curious about how she ended up moving and what ended up happening, and listening to the story and asking questions about the story led us into a conversation of leadership and training and development and people, which that it ended up becoming a business conversation just because we were listening and asking the right questions and being curious about who she was and how she got to where she was going, and just trying to build a relationship, figuring out where we could connect and what we could talk about. No agenda. I think that's the problem with most people when they walk into it, is they have an agenda and they're trying to push their agenda through the conversation. Just let it happen naturally. If it's meant to be, it will be. And like I love what Lori says, like, know your audience or know their culture, but also don't conform yourself to fit into somebody else's culture, because then you're going to have to work the entire time that way, trying to be that person. So it's that balance of, hey, I understand you, I respect you, you don't want to drink, cool, we don't have to drink, we could do that, but like, I'm not getting dressed up in a suit to go down to that.
Would you have had a drink if she did not?
That's a good question. That day, probably. I probably would have still, but I wouldn't say that that's a blanket answer.
Overtime. Right? Give me overtime, because I got two more things here.
Shay, give me overtime.
And we'll go to overtime.
I just want to let everybody know, when Jay Katari asks, we do. Period.
Yeah.
Last two things in the etiquette thing is bill payment. If you keep your hands in your pocket, that's where they're going to stay, you idiot.
Not even.
And
like, and there's so many tricks of the trade when it comes to this, to like doing that. Like, my favorite move is to slip out of the table. Hey, I got to use the bathroom, like midway through the meal. Go find the server, give the credit card to the server and say, hey, whenever somebody asks for the bill, you make sure that that card takes care of the bill. You could do it early. That's another benefit of getting there early, is when you show up, you give them the card early and say, hey, no matter what happens, you make sure that takes care of the bill. Or like, she walked over to the table closer to the end, and I made sure I gave it to her underneath the table. Like, hey, this is done. Make sure that that's taken care of. So you got a few different ways to make sure that you handle the bill. But the ultimate, takeaway is that you have to pay for the bill. If you don't pay for the bill, you've already lost.
Yeah, I don't get it. Just don't be in business. And then the last thing, which seems obvious to people, is follow up. Okay, so we had a great lunch, we had a great time. We talked some business, which was exciting for us. There's definitely more conversation to be had. How you follow up and what you do in follow up. Kim chose to follow up with a 3D piece. That was, I'll remember that forever. I'll save the card forever. My follow up with Nikki had nothing to do with business. It had everything to do with a topic that we spoke about during lunch, which was about getting up early. And the Wall Street Journal published an article about the world is getting up earlier and they're eating earlier. There's more restaurants that their kitchens are closing at 8 o'clock and they have more 5 o'clock reservations. It's a cool article that followed up on our dialogue, so she knew I was listening.
But also, there were 2 follow-ups that you did even prior, or that we did prior to that. The first one is we posted about the lunch and what a great time. And we the picture that we took, we tagged her in it.
You broke up, so say it again.
So it was because you posted about it, right? We took a picture at lunch, you posted. That's a piece of follow-up, right? And that is a person that is going to get notifications about likes and comments and all the other things. So that follow-up has a tail to it because that traction of that lunch stays in her mind because of all of the things that happened after it. And I also texted her and sent her the picture and said, hey, great lunch, absolutely wonderful conversation. Can't wait to continue the conversation with you next week. But so socially, digitally, through text message, and then again through email with an article, so many different ways that are not your traditional, hey, thank you for the lunch, let me know when the next time we can have just so many different ways to do it. A video is another thing that you could do. So the way you stand out in follow-up, I think, also matters.
So what a great topic, a little masterclass on business etiquette at lunch. I had so much fun talking to you about it on the way down, while we got there, and then on the way home. It was fantastic. So if you have a colleague and you haven't spent time, drive to the Grove, man. It's a good hour away from where we were. It was really fun. What a great way to start Monday. For those that want to know, it is National Tequila Day. So if you find yourself wanting guava and tequila, go out and have a drink.
Let's go. See you guys tomorrow.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down.